and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
We're also brought to you by foodsell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Check it out at foodsell.co.uk.
And lastly, we're brought to you by teamoxygenaddict.com triathlon coaching.
Helping age group triathletes see huge improvements in their triathlon performances. The time training system makes sure you get the important training done each week in a way that complements the rest of your life.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. This week we've got an interview for you with Mathias Petersen, who went 7:52 to finish third at Ironman Sweden, the fastest Ironman debut in history. Imagine that, Hells, going 7:52 in your first shot at the distance. Little bit of talent.
Quite honestly, I can't imagine. I can't imagine ever going, genuinely, ever going.
I'll tell you what, it's such a great interview. He's such a good lad. He's so new on the scene. He hasn't even got any sponsors. He's got someone who gives him free running shoes, and that's it. So, yeah, just top lad. And I think we're going to see a lot more from him in the future as well. We've also got results from Ironman Italy, where you were. Outlaw X, where I was.
Where you were, yeah, and where Rich was, yep.
Yeah, and 70.3 Weymouth, where the weather was. So we'll have a chat through that. So first off, listen, let's kick it off, Hells. Let's talk about your experience down in Italy after we've said a quick hello to our friends Foodsell, sponsors of the results section. I tell you what, Hells, it was absolutely bouncing down with rain at Outlaw X. It was proper. We had a nice start to the day, but it was biblical rain from about halfway through the bike for me. And I had the old Foodsell on the top tube with my spares kit in. And as I was looking down at the top tube and thinking, well, it's never been tested as to how waterproof it is before in weather quite like this. I got to the finish. I thought, I'm going to have a check in here. And I opened it up expecting my spares kit to be swimming in water. Because, people say it's waterproof, don't they? And it never really is. Completely bone dry inside the Foodsell. So I'm 100% confident now in saying if you had flapjack in there, if you had gels in there.
You wouldn't have had soggy flapjack.
You wouldn't have had soggy flapjack, which we laugh at, but then you get weather like that. And it's a really big deal if you can't get your food out, because how many times have we seen people with some kind of food bar wrapped around the top tube and they can't get it off because it's rained? It's like a real problem racing in this country. So as well as being aerodynamic and as well as having that slidey top thing that opens and closes with one hand, it's completely waterproof. We really love it. So the price has been reduced by £5 to $39.99. You can get it at foodsell.co.uk. These guys weren't actually at Outlaw X this weekend, so I was approached by two separate people who said, I was going to buy myself a Foodsell for the race, and they've not managed to make it. So unfortunately, Mark was tied up with other business that day. He's emailed me today, so they weren't able to be there. But you can get them from the website, so check it out, foodsell.co.uk. So, Hells, a place where we didn't need waterproof top tube nutritional carriers.
Well, you did yesterday. If you're doing the for Ironman Italy, which was on Saturday. No, you didn't. It was incredible. There was a break in the sort of slightly UK-like weather.
Oh, really? Because I saw the footage of the Ironman and assumed it had been lovely for the whole week. Was it not?
No.
Oh,
There was yesterday when it was a 70.3 and the 51.50, so the Olympic distance. That was quite drizzly actually, and quite grey and quite chilly. And I always think it's very funny in Europe when we're there as Brits and we're still there in t-shirts and shorts, and they're all wrapped up in gilets and long trousers and scarves and hats and things like that. Yeah, so it wasn't as hot as has been previously, but actually on race day for the Ironman, I was standing supporting and I was thinking, I can feel my legs burning slightly, the backs of my legs burning a little bit.
So
it really was hot.
I thought. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I still wouldn't have wanted to run a marathon in under that sun, because I think it was still pretty hot.
That's
but
interesting. And we'll come to why it's interesting in a bit when we talk about the result, won't we?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, it could have just been me standing there watching, but no, it was. I think if you're looking for a later season race abroad, flat and fast, but with that comes a lot of drafting. Even in the Olympic race, I was actually shouting at, and I don't
really?
Oh yeah, I was shouting at. Generally, it was packs of Italian men. It was mainly Italians doing that Olympic race.
Okay.
And I was just, I would sit up and I was
Heckle
like,
them.
I did. I was like, you're
Good
actually
you.
cheating. That's drafting.
Love
That is
it.
drafting.
What was it like in the Ironman and the
happy.
70.3 race? Was it
I
mostly honest or?
No, I don't think so. I spoke to Naomi
Right.
Kira Wright, who came third in her age group. I know she listens to the podcast as well, and she actually said, I wouldn't come back and do this race. That is not a fair bike course at all. But that is, I guess, what you get if you go to a flatter race, isn't it? Because there's a long section up and down a dual carriageway or bypass, whatever.
Right, I see.
And so just packs of.
It's a bit like Texas or
riding.
Barcelona used to be as well.
Yeah.
And that's especially hard, isn't it, for the top age group females who get caught up in, or don't get caught up in it, and someone else in front is getting a free ride.
Yeah,
totally.
gutted
for her.
Yeah. So in the Olympic race, which I did yesterday, even then you had these packs of guys kind of coming through, and then you'd get like the odd female age grouper in with them, and you're just like, oh, just do one. Like you're just cheating. So
totally frustrating, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were racing. That's good news. Did you have a good time?
I did the Olympic. So interestingly, I entered it because I knew that I was going to be out there, and I thought, oh, that's probably a good option. So it was because I said it was just a one-hit wonder this year for triathlon at the back in June, whenever it was. So I thought, oh, I'll dust it off one more time. But it really was pretty much for fun, because I was just on my road bike. I had no aero wheels, I had no aero bars, I had nothing like that, because I was just out there. And the swim, oh my god! So sea swim, I was absolutely petrified, Rob.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely petrified. I had to turn on my back within the first 150 meters.
Oh, bless you.
Rearrange my goggles, do a bit of breaststroke. Couldn't see. The water's not. It really was not clear.
No, it didn't look it in the video actually.
No, it was not clear at all. So you couldn't see a thing, and it looked deceptively calm, I think, but actually it was really sort of
it's very choppy, wasn't it? Very rolly and swelly.
Oh god, it was horrible. So I got to halfway, just thinking, ooh, and then at halfway, I realised it's okay, Helen. You're not going to die of a jellyfish sting. Just you're okay. Just get your head down and just keep going. And then I was okay. But yeah, proper hated it at the beginning of that sea swim. Really really panicked. And I like swimming.
It's funny how it can just happen like that sometimes, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Doesn't take much. And nobody likes a jellyfish, H. You got to be kind to yourself.
So again, Naomi said she got stung all over the place on the jellyfish. And lots of people did say there were a lot of jellyfish in there on Saturday. So good support on the run, flat run course, and good support.
Well, listen, let's talk about the Ironman event as well, because for people who haven't seen the results yet, there was a step change performance from male winner Cam Worth, wasn't there?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Let's go through his numbers first, and then you can talk about how he looked. So he initially arrived on the scene, obviously ex-pro cyclist with Team Sky, fantastic time trialist, fairly decent second pack swimmer, and his run was just kind of hang on, wasn't it? And then his progression was kind of like last year he managed to just break through and run a sub 3 hour marathon, and we were all saying, oh, okay, so that's a decent-ish run now. This time he swum a 46, so front pack swim, got out next to Tim Don, 4:09 on the bike, 13 clear minutes faster than anybody else, and he ran 2:45.
Yeah. Yeah, absolute game changer.
So 7:46 overall, a couple of minutes slower than Tim Don's official Ironman world record, and another couple of minutes slower than Lionel Sanders, I think, was in there, Arizona, about 2 minutes faster than him. But that's wild, isn't it? That really is a shot across everyone's bows. Now Cam Worth can run 2:45 off the bike.
Yep.
No one's going to be sitting and giving him all that time at Kona thinking, well, it's fine, he's going to come back to us, because they don't know whether he will anymore.
No, exactly. He's put it's really cool. He's put up on social media, I'm the 2:45 guy. Yeah, he did amazingly, and he was like, "Yep, good day." But he said that he was not expecting to. I don't think he was expecting it. He said it went a little bit better than expected.
Now, I've read reports the run course was a bit short. There's varying reports of it being between 0.8 of a K and 0.8 of a mile short, but even so, that would still be a sub 250 run for him.
Yeah.
Even inaccurate, still a legit fast run off the bike, isn't it? 4:09. And just before we went on air, Helen and I were chatting. I'm going to share this with you. We went to a pace calculator to work out how fast 4:09 on the bike actually is. That's 27 miles an hour, everybody, or the equivalent of a 22-minute 10 or a 55-minute 25-mile time trial.
Oh my God.
It's just, yeah. So fair play to Cam Worth. How was he looking on the run? Because obviously 2:45 paces.
He just looked so smooth. Honestly, he was just destroying it.
He looked brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was so far ahead.
And interestingly, he looked really composed at the finish. He didn't look like he'd killed himself. He looked relatively fresh when he's been interviewed afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. He did just look like Mr. Smooth, and he made it look easy.
Yeah. The real question is, can he back this up now in 3 weeks' time? Has he given his performance of the year there 3 weeks before Kona? And has he completely blown his beans for the big race? Or is this a statement of intent for next year? I guess we'll find out in 3 weeks' time, won't we?
Yeah. So I think what is different about Cam Worth is that he races a lot.
Yeah.
And I think because he has got such an incredible background in endurance behind him. So he used to be a rower before he became a professional cyclist. And he would say that doing some of the training and doing some of the sort of grand stage races or stage races, for him, it's almost more normal to race so much.
I think there's a difference, though, between being a cyclist and being a triathlete, and the difference is how hammered your legs get on the run.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame, personally. I think it's a shame he's gone so fast in Italy, because if he'd taken that run to Kona, people wouldn't have been seeing him, if at all. They wouldn't have been seeing him until the last couple of miles of the marathon, and then we would have had a real race on the hands. And hand on heart, my gut says, having turned that out here, there's nobody else, not even Lionel Sanders, who's done some crazy runs, is doing a 2:45 marathon 3 weeks before Kona. And if he was, we'd be all saying he's blown his beans for Kona, because no one's bouncing back from that. I hope I'm proved wrong, because I love Cam Worth, but my gut says he's going to get to the 18-mile point of the run at Kona and detonate, no matter how fast or how controlled he's looking.
Just sort of changing context slightly, but it would be like someone going to try to run, let's say a 3-hour marathon at London, and they run a 3-hour marathon 3 weeks out of London, I guess.
Exactly.
And then it's like, can you recover and then
exactly. Yeah. Would you run a marathon in preparation for a marathon? Only it's an 8-hour race you're preparing for. Yeah. But we will wait and see, won't we? We could be proved completely wrong, and I'll happily eat humble pie if I'm wrong. So let's wait and see. My gut says, though, he'll go to Kona and detonate, and then he'll do something spectacular in Western Australia after Kona.
Watch this space.
So go on, let's do results then. You were there. You can do them, Hells. These are all yours, baby.
Oh yeah. Oh, we should mention Tim Don, by the way.
Oh yeah. So what happened to him? Because he came out of the swim.
Yeah, came out of the swim a couple of minutes back from Lucas Voigt, who he was clear by a couple of minutes out of the swim. And from what I understand, on the bit when there's like a hill in the bike section, and apparently an age grouper was going up the hill while Tim Don was coming down, but the age grouper was on the wrong side of the road and basically crashed. That was what I heard.
Oh, poor, especially after his background as well.
Yeah. So that was what I heard. I don't. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Poor Tim Don.
Yeah. An age group competitor ran into his bike near the end of the bike leg, cracked his frame in several places. So he pulled out.
Oh, crikey. Do we know, is Tim Don qualified for Kona for this year?
Nope.
He's not qualified, is he not? Right.
No, so he's trying to get qualification for next year.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's also trying to do Paralympics as a guide.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Oh, cool. All right, so results then from Ironman Italy.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the men. So Cam Worth takes the win in 7:46. Oh, just what a performance.
Say that again. 7:46.
Yes, what a performance. So 46-minute swim, 4:09 on the bike, and a 2:45 run. Jaroslav Kovacic second in 8:03, and then Giulio Molinari of Italy was very much a favourite with the home crowd to finish third in 8:08. And then in the women's race, Caroline Leyrider of Germany, she was looking really smooth on the run as well, actually. So she was a clear winner in the women's race, broke the course record as well in 8:48. She did a 3:06. But Jenny Schultz of Germany, she was running brilliantly. She did a 2:59. She was second in 8:56. And then Maureen Hoof of Germany as well. She was third in 9:02, and she is going to Kona in 3 weeks' time.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then Michelle Vesterby was fourth. I got a word with her, so we will hear from her, I think, next week.
Yeah.
I still think, Rob, she did 9:04, and that's her second Ironman in the space of what Copenhagen was a month ago, pretty much. And she had a baby boy in May.
So is she chasing a Kona qualification for next year?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so she was hoping to get it done there. But that, still, that is...
it's still
impressive.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play. Right, well, we'll look forward to hearing with Michelle Vesterby next week. Cool stuff.
Correct.
Okay, so other results then. Outlaw X. So, new event at Thoresby Hall in the UK. Beautiful location, Hells, I've got to say. I think it's the best location I've been to for a triathlon. Like a stunning British country house looking type Pride and Prejudice kind of location. The sun was shining the whole weekend, which obviously helps. But
apart from race day.
Well, yeah. Start of race day was nice, to be fair. The first couple of hours were lovely, but the day before was just like a classic late British summer day, not a cloud in the sky. It was ace. Great bike course, great swim course, great run course. The swim was ace. You went down down and back, and then swam around a little island with a monument on it and back on yourself. And I wasn't sure how it was going to work before the race, but I think it was one of the, when changes of direction can be disruptive sometimes, and other times it makes the swim course really interesting. I loved it. I thought it was great. And then the bike course was mainly rolling, I would say. Some good fast sections. But then when the heavens opened, it just became like, and you're just trying to stay away from people because you don't want spray on your visor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was tough old day out on the bike. And then it dried up a bit for the run. So a really nice 3-lap run through like a mix of trails and country park and through forests. Great support, like a figure 8 type loop. So you passed all the supporters twice in the middle of the loop and loads of supporters near the finish as well. So yeah, really, really great event. I was really impressed with it. Really,
Rich said he loved it.
Yeah, it was a really good event.
He did say it was a fantastic race. Kind of tough, but but he really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good old honest course, I think is the way to describe it.
Yeah.
And I've got to say thank you to everyone who said hello during the run. I was toughing out one of those teeth grinders of a just get round the run and saying hello to people. And I must have spoken to 100 people who said, "Oh, I love listening to the podcast." Just had such a nice time chatting with people. It was great. So really super nice. And it's dead nice, when you can be at that point in your fitness where you're really focused on running really fast. And then there's the other end of your fitness where you're hanging out with people who we're all just trying to get each other to the finish line. And no one's trying to run fast. We're just all trying to run. So it was one of those days for me. It was great, like having a little chat. And afterwards, there were so many people who were just like, "Oh, we got through it," real sense of camaraderie. So it was really good.
Aww. Well, sometimes those are the best ones.
Yeah, it was. It was
Aren't
great.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
So at the point end of the field, we had wins on the ladies' side. We had a win for Michelle Carson, who brought it in 4:46. Hannah Peel in second in 4:52. And Beth Wilmot in third in 4:53. Those two, Hannah and Beth, were running on each other's shoulders as they came past me, and it looked like they had a right Titanic old battle going on.
Oh, so, did they?
Yeah. Oh, actually, it might not have been. It might have been Beth and Shawnee Lovett who finished fourth. They were only 30 seconds apart at the finish.
I noticed that I think there were three who all finished within about a minute.
My feeling is it was Hannah and Beth who were running side by side. Perhaps I'm wrong with that. I was trying not to fall over at the time in my defence. So, and over on the men's side, we had a fairly stonking return for form for Simon George, who's been out for about a year with injury, hasn't he? So great to see him back. He's a previous winner of the Outlaw Half. He did 4:08 and really laid it down. He was about 3 minutes clear on the swim, I think, of everybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and 2:15 on the bike. And I think he ran 1:17 or something from memory on the run to bring it home in 4:08. And then Jali Bayou in second in 4:12. And Richard Bull in third in 4:15. So some very fast racing up at the front, but there was something like 1,600 people racing. So it was one of those awesome days where we had everything from racing snakes all the way through to loads of tri clubs who were using it as like an end of season party. And there was like a real sense of like a real celebration. And hats off to the commentators on the day, who I think they did a brilliant job of being like Duracell bunnies and keeping everybody going right to the end. They were great. So Paul Kay was in Italy, and along with another a couple of announcers, but because they had so many events over the space of the weekend, honestly, they would have obviously been up till midnight at the finish line on Saturday, and then they were still they had to be back then for the banquets and stuff on Sunday morning, and their voices, woof. It's a skill, isn't it?
It's amazing, really amazing.
One last result to talk us through then. We had 70.3 Weymouth going on, and the weather did not play ball down there. They had howling on shores, and one of my athletes sent me a video through of her the day before the race with a fairly solid shore break coming through. So the swim got shortened there to 750 metres. Wins taken out by George Goodwin on the bike. I think he sat behind, I think it was Marcus Herbst, who had a storming bike leg. He rode 2:10.
Oh, yeah.
George Goodwin latched on and rode 2:11 and came off the bike behind him, and then laid down a 1:14 run. And the distance was legit as well. One of my athletes raced it, and I looked at the GPS tracker, and it was a full half marathon. So, fair play. 1:14 in those conditions is great. So he took it out in 3:44 from Adam Bowden in 3:47 and Elliot Smales in third in 3:49. Do you want to do the ladies?
Yeah, very well. India Lee, it was a British 1-2-3, but India Lee, who we had on just 3 or 4, just before the World Champs, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
That we had her on. Yeah, so she took out the win in 4:15 ahead of Claire Han in 4:17, and then Katrina Rai, who again we had on earlier this year, she was third in 4:22, and Claire Han got the fastest run of the day there with a 1:23.
Nice. All right, so on to our interview of the week. I've already mentioned we've got this young Danish gentleman, Mathias Petersen. He went 7:52 in Kalmar, and the fastest ever debut Ironman. So we'll hand you over to our interview of the week. Okay, Mathias, welcome to the show. It's lovely to welcome you onto the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Thank you for your time and for joining us. And let's kick this off straight away by saying congratulations, man. Am I right in saying the fastest ever Ironman debut time that you've just recently clocked up in Kalmar? 7:52:31, if you can believe that, on debut. Congratulations, that's incredible.
Thanks. Yeah, it was it was a crazy day, and apparently also a very fast day.
Well, yeah, clearly a very fast day, but I tell you what, man, it's living the dream. Everybody dreams of, stepping up to Ironman and having the first one be, go really well, firstly. But to do the fastest ever Ironman debut in history, how does that feel? Has it really sunk in yet?
No, not really. The idea of this little kid from little Denmark having an unofficial world record, just nah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell the readers the story. We got an email from a guy called Lassie who runs a Danish triathlon podcast, and he said, and I don't know whether this result has sneaked under your radar, but Denmark is becoming like the hotbed of triathlon talent. And this came through before the 70.3 World Championships as well. So he was like, years ago, we just had Rasmus Henning, and, he did really well at Roth, didn't he? Did he go 7:52, I think, from memory, back in the day?
Yeah.
And then he's given me a list of, now we've got Daniel Bakkegaard winning Ironman Austria. We've got Christian Hugenhaug winning Ironman Hamburg. And now Mathias has just broken the Danish record and done the fastest ever Ironman debut in history. So can we have some interviews, please? So we were like, yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your history. First off, how old are you and how long have you been in triathlon for? And what's the story before you stepped up to Ironman?
Yeah, I'm 24. I've been doing triathlon since 2011. I was a competitive swimmer before that, and then I got the shoulder injury, like pretty much all swimmers do.
Okay.
And my coach said, "What about triathlon?" I said, "Yeah, fair enough. I will give it a go." And then I just kind of fell in love with it, and started doing it more competitive. And then in, I think, 2014, I was selected for, it was not the national team, but the federation put together a team of the fastest short distance guys in Denmark, in Odense, the third largest city. And then we should build up a team where the main goal was to qualify as many guys and girls as possible to the Olympics in Rio and Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I was on that team until 2017, until I got kicked off for being not good enough.
Oh, really? Oh, bless you.
Yeah. No, I was not the best at short distance. You need to be really sharp, and you need to make the right decisions in split seconds. And I wasn't good at that. So I was always having a bad T1s and T2s, and lost that 5 seconds or 10 seconds. And if you do that every time, then you're never gonna make it. And then, and in 17, my coach said, "What about half distance?" And I said, "Fine, I'll give it a go." I did a race Challenge Sardinia in 2017 and got an 8th place. And was like, okay, maybe I'm better at this distance than the shorter distance.
Okay.
And then I became the national champ on the half distance in 2018 and had a good season there, and at 6th place at ITU Worlds. And then this year I managed to defend my national title. And then, obviously do a pretty good race in Kalmar. And also got a podium in 70.3 Jönköping in Sweden. Yeah. So this year has been pretty good.
Do you know, there's so much to get into there, isn't there? The first thing is obviously there is such small margins of error when you're racing at the ITU distance.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, a 5-second difference in T1, which to most of us normal people, it sounds like absolutely nothing. It really is the difference between missing a pack and getting in the pack, isn't it?
Totally. And my experience is that you need a certain mentality that some people are really good at doing that high intense and like are really good at making the right calls when the decision is very stressed. And I think that those kind of people do great in ITU, because you really need to be able to you have to be fast at first, but you also have to constantly make the right decisions. And then you have the other guys more like me, who's like the diesel train, who's like, I need a couple of hours to get going, and then I'm ready. But that's just my experience.
What would be an example of something where you would consider where you maybe hadn't made the right decision in those situations? Give us an example of that.
I was always I've never been the best swimmer on the national team, but I wasn't the worst either. But I always swam better in the second half of the race than the first half of the race, because I was really bad at the fighting for the position in the start. It's like, it probably isn't the right thing to say, but sometimes you have to be a little bit of a jackass to get your spot on the ITU swim court, and I wasn't good at that. So when the fighting started, I just backed off.
Yeah.
And if you back off again, then you're in the back of the pack, and if you're in the back of the pack, then it's just got a lot harder. That mentality of I have to get to the front now. I just didn't have that.
I see.
In that kind of racing.
And so presumably that contrasts quite markedly with an iron distance race, where the fields are, especially at the pro level, the fields are much smaller. And I'd imagine for a guy with your swim pedigree, the pace doesn't feel anywhere near as maximal in an Ironman.
No, I would actually say it's actually pretty similar in half and full distance. Just the main difference is that you're not fighting anymore.
Okay.
When the gun goes off, you still go full speed, and then after a couple of 100 meters, you have found your spot, and then you can adjust your speed, but you're still pushing, but you're swimming at your own pace, and there's not a guy pushing you on the right, on the left, and on your feet and stuff like that. And then it suddenly gets easier, because you're not getting interrupted all the time.
Yeah.
Because where I fell in the ITU, it wasn't really swimming, because you was constantly hitting something, and therefore it was an all-out effort all the time, even though you not really swam faster than.
Yeah, it's more like a water polo match than a swimming race, right? Yeah.
Well, in the longer distances, you can more find your rhythm and then push.
Okay. And what was your experience of moving up to middle distance like then, when you went out to challenge Sardinia for the first time? You said that the obviously the swim suits you much better because there's much less fighting. How was this transition onto riding in 90 kilometers and running a half marathon rather than the shorter Olympic distance for you?
I think the first thing I learned was that you better pace yourself, or you're gonna pay. Even when you're racing an Olympic distance, you don't really pace yourself. It's just you go all out, and if you have a good day, you continue to run fast, and if you have a bad day, you fall apart. And that took me a couple of races to learn that you have to run the first 5K and with not easy, but you have to run it this is good, I can push for now and stuff like that. Where earlier it was just if I could push, I have to push.
Yeah. Okay.
And the bike was, I think in Sardinia I was surprised by how fast people biked. There was some serious horsepower out there.
Who were you racing in that first race? Who else raced in Sardinia?
I think it was Vincent Hernandez, the Spanish Olympian from Rio, who won the race, and then I actually think Rudi van Berg got third.
Yeah.
And Bart Arnold's second.
So talk about your baptism of fire.
Yeah. I remember I had a good fight with Ryan Fisher on the run, but unfortunately he won that one.
Yeah. All right. So what I really want to know, and what I'm really interested in, is what goes through an athlete of your physical caliber's mind stepping up to Ironman for the first time. And is it as intimidating a distance for someone like you as it is for the rest of us age groupers who, I can remember being so excited leading up to my first Ironman 20 years ago or whatever, and just thinking about it all the time. And can I even possibly cover all that distance and reach the finish line? Did you go through a similar sort of process, or because you went fastest ever debut? Was it always a plan to go at that speed, or was that just kind of what happened on the day?
No, it was never planned to go that fast. I think I was actually looking a bit forward to the swim because I know the field wasn't that strong on the swim. We had that one Norwegian guy, a Swedish guy who was a really fast swimmer, and then we had a lot of guys around me. So I actually was a lot less nervous before the start than usual, because okay, I can still screw this up a little bit and make the front pack on the swim. And then when the gun goes off, you don't really think that much. I just swam with the other guys. And when I got to the bike, I remember I was quite surprised by how fast the other guys was riding in the start.
How many of you guys got off the bike together? How many of you guys got out the swim together? I'm looking at the results here because you swam 45 minutes for the swim, which is pretty mind-blowing for most people. But there was a few other guys around you at the same sort of speed, weren't there?
Yeah, I think there was a talk about there was a lot of current on one of the straights that helped us. So that was pretty much why we swam that fast. But we were a pretty big group. I think it was Molinari and Swedish guy Karl Johan, and
that's right. Dennis Chevreau was with you as well, by the look of things as well. And
no, he never came up on the bike. It was only the run. And then there was the Brazilian guy. I can't remember his name now. I've got it.
But there was a good chunk of you. Was there 4 or 5 of you all get out together?
Yeah, we were 4 people at the start of the bike. I think we were 10 guys out of the water together. But after 5Ks, we were 4 people. I had a pretty good T1, and then I just left. And it was only Molinari and the Brazilian and the Swedish guy who caught up with me. So I don't really know what happened with the other guys.
Yeah.
And then apparently my power meter broke because of riding. And then Molinari came up to me, and my coach had told me that, okay, Mathias, no matter what, the first 50 kilometers you stick with the front group.
Yeah.
And then you can see, okay, fall back and at your own pace, but you have to stick with the group. And I just did that, and then I looked down at my power meter. It's 380 watts.
Oh no!
I was like, what? That can't be true. And then I looked up again and said, and then I looked down again after 20 minutes, and then I have 390 average or something like that. And I was like, that can't be true.
Oh no!
So, but then I just ignored that, and I was quite surprised by how hard, especially Molinari, was pushing the pace.
Yeah.
And then we also got to a point where we had some crosswind, and then I just had to drop back because of okay, there's still 130 Ks left, and it's not supposed to hurt this much that early.
Yeah.
But apparently a lot of guys went too hard in the start, it looked like, because then when I got back into town after around 100 Ks, my coach yelled to me that, yeah, everybody's alone. So then apparently, yeah, people was just riding alone with 1 minute in between.
I see. Yeah.
And that was pretty weird because it was a really flat course, so people were supposed to be in packs, but I don't know if the crosswind and stuff like that just blew it apart.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of very fast rides that day, weren't there? But it looks like maybe your power meter was right. Maybe you did ride for the first hour at 380 watts, and everyone just blew to bits and did what they had to survive to the end.
Yeah, I think it was broken because it ended up with 340 average, and I think that's still pretty high for
it's pretty high, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really fast day. Boys who rode like 4:03, that's just like really crazy.
That's an unbelievably fast time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you have any expectations before the race on what kind of bike time you might do? Because I'm presuming, like I said this before to you, I'm presuming you just want to finish your first one. That's the big goal, isn't it? Just get me to the finish line, even if I have to walk the marathon. So I'd imagine going full gas for the first 50K. Were there some doubts in your mind at that point?
Yeah, a little bit. But then again, it was just like, stick to your own pace. This is what you have trained for. You have trained so hard for this. Like, you just have to get to the finish. And then I started seeing when we got into the town after 100 Ks that some of the guys from the front group had dropped back, and then suddenly it was like, okay, I'm no longer the drop guy in no man's land. I'm actually gaining on the other guys.
Yeah.
And then you get the confidence to just keep riding. But we hadn't really looked at any time splits before because we knew that the course, if there was a lot of wind, it's pretty slow. I think not last year, but the year before, last time there was a pro race for the men. Patrick Nilsson won it in 8:10 or something like that, and rode 4:30.
Yeah. So it's one of those courses, is it, that's really susceptible. If the wind's in one direction, it's really quick, and if it's in another direction, it's really slow.
Yeah, especially. So we couldn't really set any time. It's just like, the plan was to go 300 watts, but that kind of flew out the window with the power meter. So it was just on gut feeling. But yeah, it helped a lot that I started catching the other guys, because then you're like, okay, it's not that bad.
Okay. And where did you get off the bike? Where were you in terms of position overall when you got off the bike then?
I think it was fourth.
Okay, so you picked your way through a good few of them at that point.
Yeah. And I had, I think, a couple of minutes to Markus Liebelt, the German, and then a couple of minutes again to the Swedish guy, and then we had, I think, 9 minutes to boys. And the plan was to go out in, I think, 4:03 pace, or 4 minutes, around 4 minutes per kilometer. But I kind of screwed that up I went out and my watch said 3:40, and then I felt that I wanted to keep a certain cadence and a certain contact time with the ground. So
you took it out hard, huh?
Yeah. I took it out really hard, and my excuse was that it's if I slow the pace now, I also slow my cadence. So that was kind of like the excuse to myself to go out hard.
Okay.
But also because at that point you're like, I wanna contest for the win.
Yeah.
And then I had to try and see, okay, can I gain time on these guys, or are they running just as fast as me, or what's happening? And I think I caught the Swedish guy, and Marcus Liebelt on the first lap. So within the first 13k.
Yep.
Uh,
Because you must have passed these guys at running much faster than they were going. Because I'm like looking at the overall times, there's a significant gap to how fast they ran, even with you slowing down a little bit later on. So again, confidence, I'm guessing, is building at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, really. I think it's a bit of like that young, arrogant confidence. Like you don't really know what's going to happen, so you just do it anyway.
Go with it. Yeah, good. Yeah. So what gap did Boris have on you off the bike then?
I think it was 9.5 minutes.
And you were going for it. You were chasing him down, right?
Yeah, really. And I think I got it down to 3 minutes. But then I started to blow up.
Okay.
Like starting to walk the aid stations and walk a little bit in between the aid stations.
Hey, there's a solid strategy in there with some walk breaks, man. That's what I coach all my athletes to do. And not so much the 3:40 first kilometers, but the walk breaks for sure. So what point did you get to before you started to feel like, oh boy, the wheels are coming off?
I think it was around 30 kilometers.
Okay.
Because I remember I ran through, I think, the first half marathon in 1:20.
Okay.
And then I started to think, okay, you may have messed this one up.
May have gone a little bit hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, because I remember that I looked down at my watch and was like, okay, 30 kilometers, that's you're soon finished, Mathias. But then again, 12 kilometers, that's still a lot.
That can mess with your head, can't it?
Yeah, really.
12k to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you managed to run him down to a 3-minute gap with 12k to go. And then did it kind of hold about that gap all the way to the finish at that point? Was everyone just in survival mode?
Yeah, I think so. And it was also that around that point that Dennis came past me. And I remember that he came past me in an aid station where I was walking. So he's just like, he ran straight through me. And at that point it was about finishing. So I couldn't do much about that. I knew I had my coach up there, and he had told me that they were coming from behind. So I knew he was coming, but I still couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So talk me through what's going through your head at this point then, where you've closed it down to a gap of 3 minutes, and then you've realized that the wheels are coming off, and then there's some very fast guys running very fast behind you. This is we've already said, haven't we? There were 7 guys went sub 8 hours, but I think there were 4 guys finished within a couple of minutes of you either side. So there's still some proper racing going on at this point, isn't there? With 10k to go.
Really, it went downhill very fast. So at that point, it was really like, okay, I'm just gonna finish now. I had some of the negative thoughts had like taken over, so I was just like, okay, it doesn't matter now. If you're gonna get the 5th place, and you just have to finish. Just run with everything you got. And then apparently I didn't. I remember I think I ran 4:10 or 4:20 pace, so it wasn't really, really bad. It was not above 5 minutes. And then I could see that the other Danish guy, Morten, he I found out later he had some stomach issues also in the last kilometers. So I could see that he wasn't gaining that much on me. So it was more of a fair fight. And then I think with 1.5 kilometers left, my coach yells to me, "Do you want the podium?" And then I yells back and, "Yeah." And then, excuse me for my language, but then he yells, "Then you better fucking go get it." And then I was like, "Yeah." And then I started to, I remember I started to sprint with 1.5k left, but I think it's just like I leaned a little bit more forward. So it wasn't pretty, but it was enough.
But you managed to get there. Oh, wow. So we end up with Boris takes the win in 7:49. Dennis is in second in 7:51. You're in third in 7:52.30. Then there's only 30 seconds to Morton behind you, another minute to Thomas behind there, another couple of minutes to the Spanish guy you mentioned, Rodriguez. So I'm just imagining how it must be for you. First Ironman, just want to get to the finish line, but you could either be on the podium or finish seventh in the click of the fingers there, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, you did so well to battle forward and end up on the podium. You must have been. I've seen the photos of you at the finish line, actually. It looks like you gave absolutely everything to get there. You're just half unconscious at the finish line, aren't you?
Yeah. I did a pretty good face plant on the cobblestone, so that wasn't good.
Oh no! Oh, bless you.
It did hurt a little bit. And I also remember that when we had to pump the champagne, I almost dropped the bottle because my arms were so weak that I couldn't shake it.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. So it would have looked good that if I dropped it in.
At what point did you realise that this was the fastest ever, world record fastest ever debut of the iron distance? What point did that get through to you, and how did it feel hearing that?
I think it was a couple of hours after, because it was actually only when after the finish line, I knew that I had gotten sub 8. My coach had yelled it to me out on the course while I was still running strong. But then I thought that, okay, I'm not running strong anymore, so sub 8, that's not an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then when we were running down the carpet, they didn't have the time on our side, just the clock. And to be honest, I didn't have enough energy in my head to do the calculations. So it was just when Morten came over to me after the finish and helped me get up, he said like, "Oh man, you did 7:52." I was like, "No way."
Wow.
So, yes. And then after that, I found my coach and my parents, and then my coach said that it was the Danish record. And at that point, we didn't know it was the fastest debut time. I think it was only a couple of hours after when I can remember. I actually think it was one of my teammates who wrote to me and said it was it. And then later, the guy from tryrating.com wrote to me and confirmed it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay,
so a couple of weeks later after your race, then the sore legs have hopefully worn off by now. How are you feeling about the iron distance going forward?
Pretty good.
I bet.
Yeah. No, I actually, it's so good that I will do another one in 4 weeks?
Oh, really?
I'll do
Which one are you doing?
3 weeks. Ironman Barcelona.
Okay.
I think I still have a lot to learn. I still made a lot of mistakes. So I'm pretty motivated to put together a better race on the distance. And just see if I just was really lucky this one time or if I can be this competitive.
Well, I'm sure there was some luck involved, but it wasn't luck that gets you to a 7:52 finish, man. That's some serious potential at the iron distance race. Were you a fan of Rasmus Henning growing up? Was he a particular athlete you looked up to?
Yeah, of course. You can't be a Danish triathlete without looking up to Rasmus Henning.
Have you met him?
A lot of times. Since I got better and started doing bigger races, we ran into each other a lot of times. I also think he was commentating the Danish half distance championship where I won this year.
Oh, cool.
So yeah. But
have
I haven't heard from
him. I was going to say, have you spoken to him since you broke his record?
No, I haven't.
Oh, what a shame.
I think he did a a comment on Facebook about it. He was truly inspired by how fast Danish guys were now, but I think that was all. But nah, he's a good guy. I think he will just be proud that we are still pushing it.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to that then, because it sounds like, Lassie wrote in his email, there really is a golden generation of Danish athletes on the roll. Off the back of Gustav Iden winning the 70.3 world champs and Christian Blumenfeld in fourth, and the both of them nailing podiums left, right, and centre at ITU distance still. Do you guys feel as though there's a real energy in the Danish triathlon scene at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of healthy competition. It's still a pretty small community, so everybody knows each other and everybody's pretty good mates. I train pretty much every day with Daniel Bækkegaard, and also done a lot of races with Hønhaug, and we have a really good time when we're not racing. So I think that's like the main secret, that there's no bad blood between any of us, but we still want to beat each other. So we in a healthy way, we push each other to constantly be better, while still having a good time and enjoying a beer or two in the off season together. I think that's a part of it. And then also at that, we have a lot of guys moving up from the ITU distance to the longer distance, because we don't really have the funding right now to have a lot of guys on the short distance. So you have a lot of guys with really much talent who's now being pushed further up in the system. I think a guy like Daniel Bækkegaard would also, if he had stuck to short distance, he would also be good there. And we have another Danish guy, Miki Toholt. He hasn't really been lucky enough in his long distance races, but he's an absolute animal. So and he's also a guy who was pretty good on the short distance. And I think when he finally finds his luck and nail a longer distance race, it's going to be, I think you're going to talk to him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were still young. You're only 24. You're still at university at the moment, albeit doing a master's degree. How hard is it trying to find a balance between, trying to make a living as a pro triathlete, even for someone like you who's been out and done a world best in the first Ironman distance? How hard is it for you to attract sponsorship and make a living from it?
Really hard, to be honest. I think we are. That's maybe also one of the things that characterize the new generation, especially on the male side, that we are not really good on the marketing side of triathlon. We have been raised to train hard, race hard, but we have not been trained to promote hard.
Yeah, okay.
So I know that a lot of guys struggled when we had to start to find our own sponsors, because a lot of us came up through the federation, where we had funding there. They paid for our races. The federation had some sponsors, so we got our gear through there. And then suddenly you have to go out and find it yourself. And then also a small part of it is that you have, I don't think that it has an English meaning yet, but in Denmark we have something called the Jantelov, which is a law, it's a social law about you're not bragging about yourself.
Okay, like humility.
Yeah, and it's not a social law. It's just that it's just a thing that makes that some Danish athletes have a hard time bragging about themselves, and also some part of the Danish population have a hard time about bragging.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of Danes and also the Danish team Denmark, the Olympic Federation, or the Olympic organization in Denmark has this goal of dual career that they want all the athletes to have some kind of education on the side, and that's match a little bit the Danish way of doing it. That sport is sport. It's a hobby.
Okay.
And I think that some people suffer under that. That it's not like in Spain, where if you're a great athlete in Spain, then you're like a god for the rest of your life.
I see.
It's not like that here. You can have a guy like Rasmus Henning, and then the day he stops, then people say, yeah, then you're gonna get a job. Like,
yeah, okay.
But
different culture, I guess. Hey.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I
and
think
so,
no.
Go on. I was just going to say, one of the things we read on the back of the World Champ 70.3, obviously Gustav Eden rode a road bike and everyone else is on a time trial bike, and the reason is, well, I don't have a time trial bike. How hard is it for you to find sponsors? Have you managed to get gear sponsors and bike sponsors and things like that, or is it just there's not even that level of support at the moment?
Yeah, I don't really have any.
No way. Really?
Yeah, I get shoes from Saucony. I've done that for the last 4 years. So for that, I'm truly grateful. They've been with me through all my pro years, but that's pretty much it.
So if there's anyone out there listening who owns a bike manufacturing company, there's a nailed on opportunity right here, isn't there?
Yeah, I think I'm cheaper than a lot of the other guys.
help a Dane out. All right, man. Listen, if listeners are interested in finding out about you and things like social media and stuff, where can they go to find out more about you?
I think it's mainly on Instagram, where I have account under my name, or Mathias Tri, it's my username. That's where I update the most. But I'm also on Strava if you want to follow my training, and I upload all my training on Strava except swimming. I just don't bother typing in I did 3K of swimming. That's not fun. But all my rides and runs are there, so you can also follow my progression if you want to, or learn my secrets, even though there isn't really any.
I love it.
So yeah.
Awesome stuff, man. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time coming on the show, and congratulations again. That time again, 7:52.31 for the fastest ever debut. I can't wait to see how fast you can get, man. Best of luck in Barcelona, and we will really be following your progress, my man. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Great guy, and it just goes to show, doesn't it, that everyone's idea of racing pro might not be exactly how it is, with no sponsors and buying your own kit. So if there's anyone listening to this who's looking for someone to sponsor, Mathias might be the guy to go for. Maybe get in quick.
Yeah, and thank you very much. Definitely. Thank you very much to Lassie, who I met in Copenhagen, for fixing us up with that interview.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks very much, Lassie. All right, so on to Coach's Couch this week. We've got a bit of a fitting one this week, Hells.
We do, Rob, funnily enough. Racing in the rain.
I thought we'd do a topical one. Yeah, top tips for racing in the rain. Because obviously, having been part of this weekend, it's one of those things where you go, all right, there's some things happen when it absolutely bounces down that you can take care of beforehand. So a few tips here for you. The first one is stay warm and dry before the start, because although we were lucky at Outlaw X before the start of the swim, on those mornings where it's bouncing down beforehand, you need to stay wrapped up warm and dry. So I've got like the Duke of Edinburgh kit list idea here, Hells. Full set of waterproofs, warm woolly hat, gloves, bin bags spare in your transition bag. That's the key to a lot of the things I'm going to say here. we talked to a few people in the briefings beforehand who actually came up and said things like, where am I supposed to get carrier bags from? I hadn't brought any with me. We're very worried about not having plastic bags in case it rains. So always have a few carrier bags or bin bags stuffed into your transition bag. The tip with this is, the first thing is, all the kit that you take off when you get into your wetsuit, put it in a bin bag and then put that in your transition bag. And wherever the kit storage is, at Outlaw X, it was in an outdoor area. And, in a lot of races it will be as well. Your dry clothes then are not going to be wet at the end of the day if they're stuffed into a bin bag. So happy days, you get to the end of the race and all your clothes are dry to put on. Now my next top tip was going to be to put your run shoes in a carrier bag or in a plastic bag. So if it hammers down when you're out on the bike, even if it's nice when you start, your running shoes don't get wet. I was officially told by the race official in the last briefing, after I'd told 7 briefings worth of people to put the run shoes in a carrier bag, she said, no, you're not allowed to do that under British triathlon rules. You can't have bags because they all get blown away. So I was like, oh. So her tip was, the official line is to turn your running shoes upside down in case it rains and then cover them with your towel. I'm not convinced that's going to keep your shoes dry. So I'm going to say, stick them in a carrier bag.
I think that's what I've done before.
Yeah. It's better than nothing, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
And it's one of those things, isn't it? Obviously, if you're trying to race through transition, then you don't want to be faffing around with carrier bags.
Yeah, it's worth it though to have dry shoes. I think it's
but they're only going to get wet anyway.
Well, the example from yesterday was it bounced down during the bike, but then when the run started, it stopped raining. True. So I had nice dry shoes, which was nice. I'm a bit of a softie in my old age, Hells.
The upside down thing, though, I think, if that goes some way, then yes, I've
definitely will. So arm warmers and a very tight gilet for the bike. If you're going to be riding in the rain for 3 or 6 hours, it can, a very tight gilet can still be quite aerodynamic. You don't want a big flappy thing on, though. And then my next tip is more to do with people who are performance focused. Accept that your power is going to be about 5% down on what you could do indoors on the turbo trainer, just because of the nature of riding outside in the rain. Your brain's going to be a bit more cautious. So recalibrate your numbers in your head and aim for something 5% down, because it's just the nature of our brain to be a little bit more cautious. I was really aware there were times when I would usually have had my head down, I'd have been powering along, and then I'd look down and think, yeah, my numbers aren't where they should be. But it was just because, and there's spray everywhere and you can't really see where you're going.
Yeah.
Really didn't want to be just putting it down properly in the time trial position. So accept that. And then the last one is remember to eat and hydrate, because even though you're wet and cold, you're still going to need that hydration, and you're definitely going to need those calories. You won't feel like it when you're wet and cold, but you've got to get them down you anyway still.
Nice.
Yeah, so there we go. There's our top tips for racing in the rain. So that's sponsored by Team Oxygenaddict. We're offering coaching for all triathlon events for everyone from total beginners through to Kona qualifiers. We even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're interested in finding out how coaching with us and the time training system can help you improve, you can book a free coaching consultation with me over Skype. There's a link in the show notes. There's also a link in there to download our free Analysing Your Race Performance document, which will help you if you've not had the race that you've hoped you were going to have over the weekend. Now, one last thing, you've got until the close of play on Monday, the 30th of September, that's a week's time, to get in at our 2019 prices, because our prices go up on the 1st of November. So you've got until a week today, as we record, to get in at 2019 prices. Last little thing, if I haven't convinced you enough already that coaching with Team OA is a good idea, and you've not seen enough tri-suits racing around Outlaw X this weekend to think it's a good idea, we're going to hear from coach team member Faker Deck from Austria about his coaching experience in the team.
Hi there, my name is Faker. And a year and a half ago, I got it into my head to start with triathlons. I did 2 sprint triathlons and an Olympic, but I also realized that for me, I would love to find a challenge in doing the longer distances, to go for the real thing. But I ran into the real big problem that everybody tells you, well, if you ever want to do an Ironman, you need to train 20-25 hours a week, which I wouldn't have, and I wouldn't want to dedicate to it, to be honest, as well. I did my homework and I came across Team Oxygenaddict, the time system, very tempting, and I decided to try it. So I joined just before Christmas last year and absolutely, completely enjoy it. For the main reason that I now understand what I'm doing. It is indeed an extremely effective way of training, and even though in the beginning you really wonder if it's this easy, why doesn't everybody do it? Why doesn't it work so well with everybody? Why are there people spending half their lifetime preparing for this? So some doubt keeps nagging you physically. Very often it's also relatively light. There's a lot of, let's say slow running to in the end make you go longer and faster. It's a very surprising switch to me. There's good technical directions for swimming, drills, trainings. So putting that all together, I just decided to try it, and I'm loving it. My family is loving it because in effect I'm spending more efficient and less actual time on training than when I was fidgeting on my own last year. And 2 weeks ago I completed my first Ironman 70.3. That was a great achievement. That was exactly 1 year after my first ever try on a sprint. It didn't completely work out, but that was somebody else's fault. I got up back on my bike after being hit. I finished the race, and afterwards, and that was sort of the big moment for me for this training system, my wife said, can you imagine how your time would have been if you wouldn't have been driven into, if you wouldn't have crashed? And all that with the training you're putting in is fantastic. You have to continue. You have to come back here next year and smash the time even more. So I think that's where I'm heading.
All right, let's roll it forward, Hells, into some news that we've seen from around the world this weekend.
Yeah, so first thing, Rob, is I was saying to people on Friday that if you want to, or even last week, I think Ironman Wales is going to sell out.
You were.
In
you called
super
it.
Super duper record time. And I was saying if you want to get involved for 2020, then you're going to have to be super quick. So interestingly, at the end of last week, they had to shut down priority entry early.
Because people were being naughty, sharing the codes. That's what
Correct.
we think, isn't it?
So yeah, that is. So basically every year, Ironman release entries to it. And athletes who competed so this year, and like if they're all world athletes, basically they get priority.
How long do they get? Do they get like a week ahead of time to get in?
Yes, a week ahead of time. But apparently the priority link, which is sent by email, was shared.
Naughty.
So organisers had to put a stop to entries until today, which is Monday the 23rd, when it was just going to go on general sale at 3 p.m. And if I don't know, it looks...
We're trying to work out what's happened, aren't we?
We are trying to work it out. Now, it looks like, according to social media, it looks like it's sold out.
No!
It looks like it has sold out. But then someone else is saying, keep refreshing the screen. I'm not trying to gloat, but just perseverance works. Other people
looks like
saying,
the website's melted down at the very least, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Some people still getting in, but it seems to have sold out in record time. And then other people are saying, how can you possibly call this general registration when at 3 p.m. release time, it's immediately tier 4 and then sold out?
Well, it looks like if you want to get into Ironman Wales, looks like you need to get on it now, guys. Get to the link and try and get in.
I think it will be, by the time you hear this.
Yeah, it might be
already
gone.
It'll be gone. But don't you think, Rob, that's interesting. So it's going to be the 10th anniversary in 2020.
Yeah.
And pretty much, even someone actually, Hugh Dolphin, was messaging me before, and he said in 2016 he could pretty much still rock up, the weekend of, kind of, and get in.
Times have changed.
And
I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that the weather was so nice. There was such good footage of it on the internet, and people have gone, that looks like an incredible race, beautiful scenery, let's get in it. Times have changed, hell. Looks like times have moved on, and it's so good, and it deserves to sell out because it's a fantastic event. I think the events like that are great and they're supported year on year. People are going to want to go and race them and they'll thrive. It's brilliant.
Love it. We've got accommodation booked.
Brill.
So I'll be down there.
Love it. At this point, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors of the new section, Precision Hydration. Hells, do you know what I did at Outlaw X this weekend?
Go on.
I carried extra salt tablets with me around the run because I thought I'm going to need these as I go around. I can feel the twinges in the hammies. I'm going to take extra salt tablets. So I had a whole one of their blister packs, which must have 15 tablets in. And I was thinking, great, I've got myself covered here. But the thing I hadn't reckoned on was how many other people I was going to pass who pulled up with cramp and jumped 2 feet in the air and the hammies went or the calves went. And I could stop and give them a free precision hydration tablet to try. Here you go, mate. Do you want a salt tablet? And people were so grateful to get a salt tablet when they've got cramp. So my new thing is people need to carry extra salt tablets with them to help a friend out as they get cramp as they're going by. You've never seen gratitude on people's faces like when they get a salt tablet and they really need it. It's awesome. Yeah. So nice one. Precision Hydration offer hydration salts in different strengths to match how you sweat. Get over to precisionhydration.com. You can take their online sweat test to see if you're a particularly salty or heavy sweater. And if you take that test and then you find out that you are one of those, you need to take care of your electrolytes for racing. There were obviously people finding out yesterday that they were sweating more than they expected or that cramp really affected them in races when they get really, really tired. And those salt tablets just seem to work and just seem to help with it. So it's a no-brainer to spend a couple of quid on salt tablets and have a little blister pack in the back of your tri-suit for race day. On the back of the Outlaw Hells, as well as talking about events that are opening, the Outlaw events are opening for 2020 this week. So all of the dates have been announced. They're going to have, now let me get this right. There was all kinds of different dates and different tiers and stuff. I think what they're going to do this year is they're going to give priority entry to people who want to do half Iron distance races, half Outlaws, to people who enter the full Outlaw first. So Thursday the 26th of September, you can enter Outlaw Nottingham along with any other half distance event that you want to enter. And then phase 2 entries will open on October the 1st. And that'll be for people who are going to enter any 2 half distance Outlaw events. And then phase 3 will see remaining entries go on individual sale. And they're also doing like a medal for people who are going to do all 4 of the events. You get a gold medal if you manage to complete all 4 of them.
It's like a series.
Yeah, pretty awesome, hey?
Yeah.
So I've got to say to anyone who's looking for a race for the end of the season next year, get into Outlaw X. It was one of the favourite events I think I've ever done. Top stuff. And one more piece of news before we wrap this up for this week. And this I don't know whether it could be big news or not, Hells, but it looks like the organisation, the Professional Triathletes Organisation, have put an offer into the Wonder Corporation to try and buy Ironman. So we haven't really got any more news than that at the moment, have we?
No, they've appointed Sam Renouf as the Chief Executive Officer.
Officer, yeah.
And they've basically sent a letter to the directors at Wonder Sports Group saying, "Hey, let's talk. We want to acquire Ironman.
Name your price."
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's going to be more around the idea of reallocating all the money that's made in the sport to get a better prize pool for the pro athletes. And it looks like they've got big private equity backing from a bank to buy it out, presumably on the basis that they'll then, offer significantly increased prize money. They've put a few tweets out, haven't they, sort of showing parity of what happened after darts, but their professional
that was the Collins Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's the same people. It's the same people behind it, apparently.
Yeah, we had Charles Adamo on the podcast. Oh, a couple of years ago.
That's right. So Charles Adamo, who is the brains behind the Collins Cup, which still hasn't happened yet, so we shouldn't really talk too much about that. But he's also involved in the PTO.
Correct. He's their CEO.
Yeah. So let's see if they agree to talks and what goes on there. Might put a few feelers out and see if we get one of those two on the show to talk about it if things start looking interesting. That could be a good little section, and good news for the pros if they might finally start getting paid proper money.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch that one.
Cool. Well, that just about wraps us up for this week, doesn't it?
I think it does. I'm going to go and do a whole load of smelly washing.
Oh, me too. I need to get the washer on Mathias today. Oh, the joys of travelling back from a race, hey?
Yep.
Love it. All right, everyone. Thanks very much to our sponsors, precisionhydration.com, foodcell.co.uk, and teamoxygenaddict.com. You've been listening to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Podcast. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
And I'm Helen Murray.
And until next week, everyone, have a great, safe training and racing week, and we shall speak to you all again soon. Cheers, everyone. See ya.